I think America must see that riots do not develop out of thin air, but in the final analysis, a riot is the language of the unheard.
This report, called the 2017 Grant Rate Analysis of PTSD Disability Claims, shows Black veterans have the highest rate of denial compared to other ethnicities. Only 43% had claims approved in comparison to the national average of 55%. White veterans had a higher rate of approval of 57%, 2 points higher than the national average. But Yale Veterans Legal Services Clinic reports this report was never published for the public to see.
Yale University analyzed 20 years worth of disability compensation records from the VA and found denial rates for Black veterans were disproportionately higher than white vets. That data is being cited in a new lawsuit filed against the VA. Unacceptable disparities in veteran benefits decisions due to racism, which have wrongly left Black veterans without access to VA care and benefits. The VA adds it is actively working to right these wrongs.
This man's name is Conley Monk Jr., and he's a Vietnam War veteran who used to be a Marine. And this man honorably served his country, but his country didn't honorably serve him, because for almost 50 years after he got out of service, he was denied VA care and VA benefits. And now you might be thinking, well, that happens commonly. You know, a lot of veterans get denied. What makes this guy so special? Well, what makes him so special is that it appears that the VA only denied him because he's Black. And if that were not the case, then explain the fact that he qualified for VA coverage the entire time for almost 50 years, but was consistently denied. And then why is it that when the Yale Law School and their law center decided to help this man sue the US government, there's an actual case going on right now, and it's called Monk v. US, where this man is suing the government because Yale Law School discovered almost 20 years of the Department of Veterans Affairs being racist towards Black veterans and denying their VA claims more often than their white counterparts. In fact, of all veterans of all races, Black people consistently had the lowest approval rates of all veterans. And if you don't believe that, well, maybe you'll believe the Government Accountability Office. And they put out a whole chart right here. And this chart represents the VA disability compensation approval rates for initial claims by race and ethnicity, and it covers the fiscal years of 2010 through 2020. What do you notice with the Black category? It's the lowest of all the categories of all races. Yale Law School, they found that since 2002 all the way up into 2020, you saw incredible disparity rates between Black veterans being approved and everyone else, especially white people, or anyone who's considered to be the model minority. And if you want to get specific, well, the Government Accountability Office found that when you compare just Black male veterans to white male veterans, the approval rates have about a 3 to 22 percentage points differential, which means that not only do you see racism, but that racism can be measured in numbers. If these numbers just represented 1 year, that's one thing. But when you start going into decades, well, we usually call that a pattern, don't we? If you want to understand the reasons why the federal courts were so willing to listen to Conley Monk Jr., well, you got to understand the Department of Veterans Affairs and the history of racism that the VA has levied against Black veterans. Like, for example, you have the GI Bill Restoration Act that is currently being considered on the federal level, and this would award the lost benefits of descendants of those Black veterans who were denied benefits even if the Black veteran has passed, because those Black veterans could have built businesses, brought a home with the VA loan, or had VA compensation, or perhaps that Black veteran suffered while not having health care because they were unjustly denied a VA claim. The families of those veterans should be compensated because they are American heroes who face racism from their own country when they honorably served. And if you want to understand what we're talking about in terms of lost benefits, then you can go back to World War II and every war before that where you had Black veterans, because Black service members were excluded from using the GI Bill that included housing and education benefits that were not only given to white veterans over Black veterans, but but black veterans were denied these claims, and this was done through various measures. Like, for example, you had the claims evaluators, or the people who work in VA benefits, who would intentionally lose people's paperwork, or they would lie and claim that the veteran's disability wasn't service connected, or they would just give that black veteran what we call the runaround. All of this was done to discourage black veterans from even applying for benefits. That is despite the fact that white veterans enjoyed those benefits and were able to start businesses and buy homes. Do you remember how I said that the VA has a habit of losing black veterans' paperwork, or simply making it as difficult as possible to ever file a VA claim or even follow up on it? If you talk to certain experts such as Chad Williams, who is an associate professor at Brandeis University, you will find that even he has said that the VA appears to have intentionally lost the paperwork of black veterans, and or the VA just simply stops contacting the black veteran even after that black veteran has applied for benefits. And so that allows the VA to drown out that black veteran in the system, which has happened to so many of us. Black veterans were routinely targeted by even postmasters and local citizens. Like, for example, you had postmasters who would tell their postman or the mail delivery guy to not deliver mail to a black veteran's home if it contained VA paperwork. And then you had local citizens in the South, Midwest, the West, even the North, who would line up outside of federal buildings and throw rocks at veterans who were trying to enter federal buildings to apply for their benefits. This guy passed away just 2 years ago. His name is Lawrence Brooks, and he was once the oldest living U.S. veteran in the United States. And the saddest part about the oldest living veteran is that he never used the VA or got VA benefits. We know this because Lawrence Brooks and his daughter, Vanessa Brooks, have both spoken out about the racism they experienced from the VA. And it got so bad that Lawrence Brooks never even bothered to apply for education benefits that he would have received under the 1944 GI Bill. And the reason for that is that he lived in a place in the South where he was not even allowed to own a home. And what the story of Lawrence Brooks proves is that this country is definitely racist when your oldest living veteran didn't even use the VA because he knew what was going to happen. When you're living under Jim Crow laws, along with the VA just denying claims for the longest time now, even into the modern day, well, that explains why this man passed away without ever using the benefits that he rightfully deserved. And even when you get VA coverage, what you'll find oftentimes is that the coverage for black veterans is either substandard or that black veteran is still subjected to racism from the VA. And I got a personal example with that. I had a VA patient advocate in Washington State call me a racist just because I wanted a black therapist. It wasn't even my idea to ask for a black therapist. It was actually my wife, who isn't even black.
There are Skype appointments now. You can just, it doesn't matter where they are. There's actually Skype now. There's no excuse. Come on, man. I'm just asking for that. I'm reaching out for the help. I just want to talk to a black therapist because a black therapist will actually understand what I'm going through. And I don't want to discuss or have a debate about it. It's not going to happen unless it's a black therapist, man. All I want is a black therapist. That's it. Black men deserve therapists that actually look like them too. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. I don't hate nobody else. I just feel more comfortable with a black therapist. That's it. Can that happen? Yes or no?
I don't work with mental health, so I have no idea. I can send a message over to them to have them look at this. And if they have a particular staff member for you, they'll reach out and they can...
Is there any way for me to find out today so I don't waste my time?
I highly doubt it. I'll send a message on your behalf over to that department. If they get back to you today, great. If not, it'll probably be next week.
Is there any way that I can call them to find out? It's just one question, man. Do you have a black therapist on staff? That's it. If you don't have one, I won't call back. You'll never hear from me ever again. I give you my word. That's all I want to know. But when it comes to black people, it's always a bunch of hoops. Now, if you call up here and you say, hey, I'm a woman, you get fixed right away. Hey, I'm LGBT, you're good right away. Hey, I'm Asian, you're good right away. I'm Hispanic, I speak Spanish, I don't even speak English, you're good right away. But a black person, you wondering why we don't seek therapy, you're hearing why right now. We just want somebody who look like us, that's it.
Well, it sounds like a lot of racist things you're talking about.
It's not racist. It's not racist, sir. You're lying. I should say I want a black therapist who can understand what I'm going through. You wouldn't get it.
Let me put you on a brief hold. Let me see if there's a direct line so you can reach out to mental health. Okay, hold on.
He says that was racist, the guy on the phone. I said I want a black therapist. That's racist. At the beginning,
Give me the phone. Give me the phone. I'm here to talk to him.
Here you go. I'm calling back.
Hey, Cap, get us office. This is Paul. How can I help you?
Hey. Yes, same person. Hey, Paul. I'm calling back. My wife kind of heard what you said, and she's kind of upset. She thinks that you're racist, actually. So I want to talk to your supervisor. Please. Sir, I want to talk to your supervisor, sir. Because you were very racist. I said nothing against anybody else. My wife wants to actually talk to you, who's actually Hispanic, sir. Okay? Yes. And she just said nothing I just said was racist.
I'm the one who told him to get a black therapist. Well, I want your full name, and I want the name of your supervisor so that I can talk to somebody above you.
And the reason why she wanted me to ask for a black therapist is because she thought a black therapist who also served in the military may be able to relate better to me. But that white VA patient advocate saw fit to call me a racist for simply asking a reasonable question. It's not just the veterans saying that the VA is racist, but it's also the VA employees themselves. Like, for example, back in 2020, the Washington Post released the following article. And what this article is discussing is a survey that was conducted by the American Federation of Government Employees. And they did a survey of 1,500 VA staff members across the country. They found that nearly 80% of VA employees said that racism was systemic within the VA, and that more than half of those people said that they saw direct racism being levied against veterans who were typically black, and that racism was coming from VA employees. And so it might be a little bit concerning when the people who work for a federal government funded agency is saying that other people who work for that federally government funded agency are a bunch of white hood racists who don't like black veterans for whatever reason.
A Kansas City VA employee says black staff members were asked to impersonate George Floyd. They say this happened as part of the VA's Juneteenth events tomorrow.
You're a whistleblower.
Garland Dotson.
Yes. You still work for the VA?
Yes, I do. Never thought he would be a whistleblower.
I served 22 years active duty service in the Air Force with 7 deployments.
Dotson points to this specific example. Records show a VA section chief approached him this year and made a monkey-like motion with her arms, saying, "You look like a monkey."
When I got there, people even asked me, "How long are you gonna last?" After 23 years, Dina Leith retired from Detroit Police Department in 2017, and in July 2018, she was hired at Veteran Affairs Ann Arbor Public Safety. I'm used to petty, being in the military and being in police, and you deal with egos. But what drew the line was they violated someone's rights, and I called that out.
My name is Marites Lustado Leibarger. People call me Tess. I am from the Philippines and came to this country legally. I was given a promotion from cashier to vending supply clerk at Kansas City, VA. The promotion included $1.75 an hour raise I needed to support my family. I took the promotion knowing several other white employees were offered the job at the higher pay rate than I was offered.
At 6, critics are blasting a series of racially charged instant messages that we uncovered between a National Veterans Affairs director and her subordinate. They both work here in the metro area.
Through a source, we obtained a copy of electronic messages from January between Center Director Angel Lawrence and staffer Nathan Jaco, in which Jaco declares, "When I become emperor, the parasitic class will be purged into the ovens," a potential reference to the fate of Holocaust victims at the hands of the Nazis. Lawrence replies, "Oh my, take that back," to which Jaco says, "Take what back?" Lawrence responds, "The whole oven thing." Jaco follows up with, "That's where you draw the line? You really don't need to hang out with me then."
Retired nurse Charmaine Brown is speaking out about what she says is systemic racism inside Kansas City's VA hospital. Brown began working at the VA in the late 80s. In 2008, she left the hospital to join the Navy and came back after a time in the service.
When I came back, I had a white nurse, 30 years younger than myself, kicked me in the rear end and called me a tar baby.
Brown is represented by attorney Rebecca Randalls. Randalls says she's been working on racial discrimination cases against the VA for around 10 years.
They don't understand the Black experience and aren't interested in learning about the Black experience.
Black veterans are more likely than their white peers to have their benefits claims denied because of systematic discrimination problems within the Department of Veterans Affairs, according to a new suit filed today in federal court.
And so in closing, I want to say that this video was very important for me to make because I am a Black veteran rated at 100% VA compensation. So if there's anybody who's going to talk about this, why not me? Why not? I mean, compared to most veterans, I definitely qualify to speak on this subject. And I really, really want this country to understand that while you say thank you for your service, every time a Black veteran faces racism or discrimination, you're saying no thank you for your service. And that's why I named this video No Thank You for Your Service, the plight of Black veterans. Because even me, someone who's rated at 100% VA compensation, I qualify for all VA for all VA services, and when I try to use them, I face nothing but racism, which is at this point I use private health care. Do you understand how bad it is when someone like me who qualifies for free health care and I still want to pay? I've only been into the VA once in the past year, and that's to the ER because it was quick. But even when I went to the ER visit in the local VA where I'm at now, it was like they hadn't seen a Black person before. And it's just the same experience I've had across the country. You know, and as you can see from all those clips from people all over the country throughout years and years and years from World War II. I mean, even World War I, you know, if it was bad in World War II, you know how bad veterans were getting in World War I and even before that. Or it just, every veteran has faced discrimination if you're Black, you know. And the problem with that is that it's not 1824, it's 2024. I wish this country would realize that, move on, so that we could all become better as a country. Because when the people who put on your uniform and wear your flag, when they aren't too sure that you're going to behave like someone who should be wearing, you know, white sheets over their heads, I think that we could all agree that's a problem. And it should be discussed, and it shouldn't be deflected. You know, you shouldn't see people say, "Oh, well, I'm a white veteran. I face this right here." Well, that's fine. That's fine that you can break up an individual case. I'm talking about overall numbers. You see how they presented lawsuits and numbers and testimonies and everything else? That is called a pattern. You see how I presented numbers from the Government Accountability Office? That's called a pattern. They didn't just study from 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. They studied it. They looked deep. They dug deep. And do you know what they found? Exactly what people like me have been saying for the longest time is that if you want me to stop talking about racism, then stop being racist. That is all. Until next time, horns up, peace out. Good night and good luck.